Great. So, I will just start by introducing myself. So, my name is Danielle Wilson, and I am the pastor of Inclusive Gathering Birmingham, which is kind of a unique church. I almost call it a church experiment because it's a Methodist supported church project that's been going for about 7 years with but it doesn't feel or seem like any Methodist church you've ever been to if you've ever been to one. So um it is it's kind of wild. It's all about radical inclusion and this idea that church can be a place where everybody's welcome rather than having restrictions on who feels like they have a right to be there. And one of the big draws for us in starting a community like this was the LGBT community. So a number of the people that got involved at the very start of us beginning this church 7 years ago were LGBT. Um, Also, any kind of combination of Methodist ministers, people that were HIV positive, people that were from different socioeconomic and ethnicities, and all coming together to say, actually, we want to have a space where people can explore faith that is really full of life and energy and hope and a safe space to ask questions. So I was kind of part of it from the beginning, but about 4 years ago, I was hired as the pastor of the church, and I have a really funny kind of title, which is pioneer pastor, which means I don't have to kind of conform to the rules of Methodism, or they basically free me up and give me loads of resources to be creative and to try new things. And it's pretty much the best job you could have because I just get to spend lots of time with really beautiful people that often don't know that they're beautiful, that don't know that there's so much love and life in them to give. And I yeah, and for me, like it's been an amazing privilege because I've come from kind of a church background that was much more conservative, full of lovely, wonderful people. But it was through my friendships and relationships with gay people, particularly my gay best friend who came out to me nearly 20 years ago, that I started to wrestle with some of the ways that the church can make people feel that they don't belong, both overtly and, by subtly being unwelcoming. And so that set me on a kind of lifetime journey of study and thinking because like I said, I am a Christian and I'm somebody that really cares about what God thinks about what I do in this world and who I am and the ways that I care about people. And so um, I ended up having a long journey and I did a master's degree in missiology, which is a subset of theology. It's about God's mission in the world and particularly looking at social justice and reconciliation and peace building. So I did that to look at um, how we can do a better job of creating space for conversations around disagreement, about LGBT church kind of disagreements, but also about any disagreement or any like groups of communities that don't seem to connect with each other. Are there some better ways of relating? And so that's continues to be something that's really important to me. And coming along to work in the church has been just an incredible blessing to be able to be in an environment where we can try out some of these ideas of learning and not being closed off to changing your mind about stuff, to always be open to new people and new ideas, and recognizing everyone is a beloved child of God wherever they've come from. And for me, as like you can hear I'm American, American, a person of privilege, and I like it has really opened up my eyes to so many of the exclusions in the world that continue. And I'm really thankful to my LGBT siblings for that, for really opening me up um, to see things in a different way and also to see God in a different way. So all that preamble, I'll show you some pictures and I'll tell you a little bit more about our church and the people that are in it. It's like I said, I'm going to share my screen. Let me find this. Uh, Oops. Here we go. Does everybody see that okay? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, um, so the church itself is, we say we're a diverse LGBTQ plus affirming, justice seeking church for all in Brum's Gay Village. We moved to the Gay Village about a year and a bit ago, and for a year we were meeting in a community space above one of the gay bars, which was amazing, and it really kind of um, I don't know, mess with people's heads in a really good way to have a church on top of a gay bar, and I think it's a challenge to people. But it was to be incredibly welcomed by the community there was great, and I think after about a year and a bit, we're really seen as the local church of the gay village and of Southside, and we have got really great relationships there. Um, our venue closed in August, and so we've moved down the road to the Ibis Hotel Arcadian, which is just across from Chungying, where I met Poonam. And we're kind of in between venues at the moment with some exciting options on the cards for a longer term home, which is I can't say too much about, but it's quite exciting. So um, this is a picture from yesterday of me speaking. I was talking about how you worship a God of liberation, which is not always so straightforward and easy to think about in the world that we have today, full of so much injustice. But what does it mean to worship a God that is all about freedom? That's a really challenging question. Anyway, I thought you might like to see some of this in context. Um, it's a little bit weird now meeting in a hotel conference room as opposed to a gay bar, but it's been a great home for us, and we meet every Sunday afternoon, and um, probably have about 150-ish involved, so that might attend over the course of any given month, any given week. Like yesterday was like 60, 70 people. Um, and people come from all over the place. They come from Coventry. Um, somebody came from Leicester yesterday. Somebody came from Hereford, because for a lot of people, finding a church where they can be fully themselves, or being in a community with, like families, like let's say we've got good friends, lesbian moms with children, being in a space where they feel like they're not being looked at funny, and that they can really be themselves and be in community with other people that are like them, it's worth traveling for. And yeah, so we've seen a lot of growth, like I said, over the last year, and that's growth in numbers, but also growth in diversity. So and by diversity, I mean diversity in every way you can have diversity. We've had a huge increase in transgender and non-binary people attending our church, and in LGBTQ asylum seekers as well. Um, we've got probably 10 or 12 that come on the regular from Ghana, Cameroon, uh, Barbados. I wrote it down somewhere because I couldn't remember the whole list, but from all over the place, that are Kenya, that are like at that intersection of sexuality, faith, and being asylum seekers from countries where they've fled because they're not safe, sometimes because they're both things. Um, and so it's been a real major privilege over the last year or so, especially to get to know some of those folks and to be able to advocate for them a little bit, and to hold their hands and hear their stories. And um, I, it's one of the things that Poonam and I really connected over, and my heart is breaking over for some of these people. When you get to know folks really well at a relational level, and you hear what they've been through. Um, I think that's often what motivates like political action and response is knowing human beings. um, so then so I'll just read you this. This is our kind of on our website, and it kind of sums up some of what we're about. I'm trying to read it past the little things that Zoom picks up. When we say inclusion, we mean we're much more than mere tolerance or welcome. We believe God wants us all to know that we actually belong. That means people of every race and ethnicity, sexual orientation and gender, age and background, HIV status, ability and disability, theological and political conviction are loved, invited, and fully included. And for me personally, this has been such a huge learning thing, just to be able to um, meet people that are different than me, that have had every part of their life be different from me. And instead of meeting that with fear or question or like that awkwardness, it's that, okay, what do I need? What do I need to do to change in myself to be more loving in the face of this difference? And that's been like a huge life question for us and in our community as well, because um particularly like there's so many different situations where we can be afraid based on difference. Like for example, in friendships with trans and non-binary people, we can be really afraid about the language that we use and getting things wrong and what happens. And I really think that it's only by being in friendship and relationship with people that are different that you can actually move past that to know and see the human being, and see the blessing and the gift that they are for the difference that they have. So yeah, so this forms a lot of the foundation of what we aim to be. We're always learning and growing in it. Let me see. I'm trying to make it shift now. Okay. Um, Community is really important to us as well, and recently we did a lot of discussion around what it means to be community, and I kind of go back to this Martin Luther King quote: "Our goal is to create a beloved community, and this will require a qualitative change in our souls as well as a quantitative change in our lives." And I think this somehow goes alongside what it means to be a community that's made up of difference and different perspectives, and that we're not friends because we all agree on everything. We choose to be in relationship with each other for deeper reasons, and forming community in the midst of that can be a challenge and a blessing. And uh, we've kind of used this definition that's put together from a few different thinkers, including my favorite peacemaker is a guy named John Paul Lederach, who formed a lot of this thinking. He's a Mennonite peacemaker, and we for us as a community, we've talked about what does the beloved community look like for us. And this is the definition that we've come up with. To flourish, the beloved community must cultivate a mutual sense of belonging through human connection and shared purpose, identity, or proximity, and be rooted in love, committed to learning, and open to interruption, disruption, and change. And I think for us, that whole thing about being open to interruption and disruption and things changing has been absolutely vital to our community, because things constantly change, whether from external sources. We lost our building space that we were meeting in with 2 weeks notice, and had to find a new venue and get set up and communicate to everybody else, and it was incredibly stressful, but it brought us together in a weird way as a community. So you can either kind of respond to this disruptions that come by, things can fall apart, or you can respond by growing into something else that you weren't expecting to be. And I think that's what we continue to see. And often the interruption that we experience is also through the difference and the different what perspectives the difference of the people around us bring into our community. And I think that's really good. It's like a holy thing to allow ourselves to be interrupted by people that have different perspectives. So I'll show you a few pictures from our community. This was back when we were in our other venue, which I'm still sad about. I loved this room. This was the room above the gay bar, and that is Miss Sunday, a drag queen, singing alongside my friend Sam. They were doing a song for us one Sunday. There's a few other folks. That's Tash in the middle, who's part of my leadership team. We do a lot of laughing. One of the things that we always do is we ask a question. We call it our question for sharing, and it can be something really silly, like what is your theme song? Like if you had to pick a theme song for your life, what would it be? And then everybody talks and they share, and we have a little laugh. And sometimes our questions kind of go to a deeper level, and people share really heartfelt stories. But there are means of connecting with each other, but we don't take ourselves too awfully seriously. Um, we're also, like I said, really involved in the Southside District, which is where I'm at Poonam. And this is a group of us from our church that all went out to do litter picking with Southside Bed. You can see Julia over here on the right, standing in front of the Birmingham HIV and AIDS Memorial. So we're always looking for opportunities to give back into the community. It's really important for us to feel like this is our home, this is the space we want. We want to see flourishing in the city because it is such a home away from home for so many of the people in our community, and it gives us that great opportunity to be rooted somewhere. Um, I'll just share one more quote. I'm a big person on quotes and reading some theological stuff. So this, I love this. This is from some theologians named Emmanuel Katongole and Chris Rice on that thing that I was talking about interruption and community. And I think, I'm talking about the church, but this actually, I think, applies to anybody trying to build community. For the church to be capable of interruption, we must exist as a community that is willing to adjust itself to the constant interruption of the stranger. It is through this interruption that the beloved community is called to see more clearly that we are not a lifestyle enclave. The community of Jesus is not a spiritual gated community or a ghetto of moral righteousness. Instead, the stranger constantly interrupts our life. Hospitality, openness, and ongoing engagement with the stranger are hallmarks of our life together. Through this interruption, our community is able to recover the extravagant love and service that our existence is about. It helps us to remember that our life together is always about the very concrete and mundane realities of service. And for me, that it's so vital that our who we are doesn't change, like what is important to us. Our goal doesn't change, but the way that we go after that goal has to be open to flexibility and responsiveness to the community as it grows and it changes. And if it doesn't, things can stagnate. So a few more pictures. This is two of our asylum seeker. Actually, Ita over here is now no longer an asylum seeker. She has gotten her residency, which is amazing. So this is a few friends from the church, and then the Reverend Jide Macaulay, who is a pretty prominent HIV positive activist. He's a gay Nigerian priest. He's coming to see us next weekend again to do a whole weekend on the Bible and sexuality, which is really, I think, is really important work. And he's a great friend of ours. This is a little group that we sent. We've got some funding to send some of our asylum seekers and other people of color from our community into UK Black Pride this last summer, which was a beautiful, I didn't go, but it was a beautiful experience for so many of them to be able to be in that space where, it's just being with people that look and have been through the same experiences as them. And they actually had a really brilliant interfaith chaplaincy that was set up as part of UK Black Pride, which I think is something that we're excited about potentially aspiring to have in Birmingham. This is a picture from, you can see me in the middle there, of Christians at Pride, which is a group that our church helps to organize of Christians marching in the Birmingham Pride Parade, letting people know that they are loved. And we put stickers on people as we pass that say, "I am loved." And it's really beautiful. It's a really beautiful thing to like put that badge on you and say, as a Christian, as a person of faith, I believe that you are loved deeply, profoundly, forever. And you can see the emotion on people's faces. Some people find that hard, but mostly people really respond to being told that they're loved, and it's true. So, just going to tell you about a few more things that we have coming up. And then things that are coming up in the longer term future. So responding to injustice is important to us. And this is an event we have coming up in a couple of weeks called Can I Live, which is a theater film screening that's put on by a group called Complicite, who put together a piece that's about, it's using rap theater to talk about climate change, and particularly the lack of Black representation in climate change movements. And so we're hosting a screening with them in our church, which is not a very churchy thing to do. It's not, I'm sure it's not, doesn't scream church to you, but for us, it is so important to create space for that conversation to happen. And we're having Fahinti Balogun, who's the star and the creator of the film, is going to be with us alongside um, Jusa Leem, who is a UK hip hopper based in Brum, and a few other people of color that are activists that are going to be having a conversation about social justice, race, and activism. So for me, that just fills me with great joy that the church is hosting a conversation like that. Um, and then in December, you're all very welcome to come along to this. We're hosting a Christmas sing along in Hippodrome Square, which is kind of our patch with the Choir with No Name. I don't know if you're familiar with the Choir with No Name. It's a choir, the most joyful choir, made up of people that have experienced homelessness. And it's a national thing, but the Birmingham Choir is particularly special, and we had them with us last year. So we're going to host the choir singing in the square as like the pantomimes come out of the Hippodrome. And then we've got some funding to put on a really big bash for them. So we're bringing them back to the Ibis Hotel. And we're going to have like cafe style. We're going to have Santa. We're going to have loads of food and just have our communities together and getting to party together. So that'll be lovely. Um, and then this is something down the road, which I'm really excited about. Uh, we like to try new things here at IGB. And in January, on the 21st, we're hosting the very first UK Dolly Church. And that is a church service that is based all around the life, music, values, and spirituality of Dolly Parton, who is both a Christian and a queer icon. So it's something that was done in San Francisco. If the last couple of years, and we've been talking with them, and we're gonna do it again, using the music and talking about her story to talk about how art and spirituality and her values all have fit together. I think it's a quite exciting little experiment we're going to have at the Old Rep Theater. So that's on the cards for January. And then just thought I'd share a few of our kind of longer term things that we're hoping for. So we're looking for a stable long-term home in Southside that we believe is where we're meant to be. And we're having some really interesting conversations about how that can develop. I can't say too much about it, but it's quite exciting. Our Another big vision is the development of interfaith chaplaincy and well-being and pastoral support in Southside. For me, I feel really passionate that talking about spirituality and well-being is not just something that should happen within one church or one faith system. Um, Chaplaincy and creating spaces for people to work through things and have someone to talk to, that should be for everybody. And I recently just did a postgraduate diploma in interfaith chaplaincy because I think one of our next things that we'd love to do is to develop that in Southside. And it's partly because I think it's important, but also when you think about the limits on the NHS and mental health support and the limits on counseling, particularly for LGBT folks, I think it really meets a need because a lot of folks really, they just need somebody to talk to. And I would love us to develop a network of people that can do that at Prides, but also on the regular. So that's a bit of a dream for us. We were also wanting to increase our support and care for LGBTQ asylum seekers, and again, because of our relationships there, campaign for immigration reform. In the meantime, it's one of the things I'm excited to talk to Poonam about is how do we do a better job of caring for these folks and what they're going through. And I feel like that's a real growing area for us as a community. We also want to create some more kind of sober spaces. So a lot of LGBT spaces are often around alcohol, and that's fine. But there's a need for spaces that don't have that as the center point, and we love there to be able to host some midweek gatherings and create space for groups that would like to gather in dry spaces. Um, Also, another thing that's really important to me is dialogue and peacemaking. As I said before, that was part of what my master's was looking at. Um, and helping people to navigate where they are on the intersection of faith and sexuality and gender. And quite often, there'll be people that come to me that are, ministers in more conservative churches that are wrestling with this and how they deal with it in their under the auspices of their church tradition or spirituality. And I'm really passionate about creating spaces for leaders and for anybody to have somebody to talk to. Because as I was working through what I thought, I did a lot of it alone and through books. And it was much later in my journey that I had actual humans to talk to about what I was wrestling with in my faith around this stuff. And so I'd love to create more opportunities for people to have that kind of dialogue. So I think I think that's about it. I'll just close this bit with I have no idea how long I talked for. I apologize if it was too long. But this is a blessing that we share every week at the end of our gatherings, whatever we're doing. And so you can say it with me if you want to. I'm gonna speak this out over you, if that's okay. May we live fully, love wastefully, and have the courage to be all that God has created us to be. Thanks very much for listening.
Thank you, Danielle.